Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever noticed that the biggest wall between you and fluent English is not your vocabulary, not your grammar, and certainly not your intelligence? It is the habit of translating every single sentence inside your mind before you speak. That tiny pause steals your confidence, breaks your flow, and convinces you that English is difficult. But what if I told you that fluency is not about knowing thousands of words? What if I told you that a small collection of the right words can unlock conversations you once thought were impossible? The biggest mistake most English learners make is believing that translation is a necessary step toward fluency. Every time you hear an English sentence, your brain first searches for the meaning in your native language. Then it tries to create a response in that language before converting it back into English. This entire process happens in just a few seconds, but those seconds are exactly what destroy your confidence and make your speech slow and unnatural. Fluent speakers do not perform this mental exercise. They hear English, think in English, and respond in English. That is why their conversations sound smooth, confident, and effortless. The good news is that this is not a special talent. It is simply a habit that anyone can develop with consistent practice. Think about a small child learning their first language. No one teaches them by translating every sentence. They learn by connecting words directly to objects, actions, emotions, and experiences. When a child hears the word water, they do not first translate it into another language. They immediately imagine drinking a glass, rain, or a river. That direct connection makes language fast and natural. You can train your brain to do exactly the same thing with English. Instead of connecting English words to your native language, connect them directly to real-life situations. When you hear the word chair, see a chair in your mind. When you hear run, imagine someone running. When you hear happy, remember a joyful moment from your own life. This simple shift trains your brain to understand English without depending on translation. Many learners believe they are not fluent because they do not know enough vocabulary. In reality, the problem is often hesitation, not vocabulary. You may already know hundreds of useful English words, but because you translate every thought, your speech becomes slow and interrupted. Imagine driving a car while stopping every few meters to check a map. Even if you know the destination, the journey becomes frustrating. Translation works the same way. Every sentence requires an unnecessary stop before you continue speaking. Removing that habit allows your words to flow naturally. One powerful exercise is to describe everything around you in simple English. Look at your room and say, "This is my desk, my laptop is on the table, the window is open, the fan is moving, I am sitting on a chair." These are simple sentences, but they force your brain to think directly in English. At first, your mind will try to translate. Resist that temptation. Speak with the words you already know. If you do not know a word, explain it using simpler English instead of switching languages. This develops flexibility, which is far more valuable than memorizing difficult vocabulary. Another effective habit is creating an English environment in your daily life. Change your phone language to English. Read simple English headlines. Listen to English podcasts while walking. Watch short English videos without immediately turning on subtitles in your native language. At first, you may not understand everything, and that is perfectly normal. Your goal is not to understand every single word. Your goal is to train your brain to become comfortable with English. The more exposure you have, the less your brain depends on translation. Do not wait until you can form perfect sentences before speaking. Perfection is one of the biggest enemies of progress. Fluent speakers make mistakes too. The difference is that they continue speaking instead of stopping every few seconds to search for perfect grammar. Communication is more important than perfection. If your message is understood, you are already succeeding. Confidence grows through action, not through endless preparation. A practical technique is to ask yourself simple questions throughout the day and answer them only in English. Ask, then answer, "I am making breakfast." Ask, "What will I do after this?" Then answer, "I will study for 1 hour." Ask, "How do I feel today?" Then answer honestly in English. These tiny conversations may seem ordinary, but they strengthen your ability to think without translation. Over time, your answers become faster, longer, and more natural. Your brain changes according to what you repeatedly practice. If you practice translating every sentence, your brain becomes better at translating. If you practice thinking directly in English, your brain becomes better at thinking directly in English. This is why daily practice matters more than occasional long study sessions. Even 15 or 20 minutes of focused speaking every day can produce remarkable improvement over time. Consistency rewires your thinking patterns far more effectively than studying for hours once a week. Do not fear silence while you are learning. Sometimes your brain needs a few seconds to search for the right English words. Let it search in English instead of escaping back to your native language. Those moments of struggle are signs that your brain is building new connections. Every conversation becomes a training session. Every sentence strengthens your ability to think faster. Every mistake teaches your brain how to improve. Slowly, the need to translate begins to disappear, replaced by direct understanding and natural expression. One day, you will realize that you answered a question in English without translating it first, and that moment will not happen because you became smarter overnight. It will happen because you practiced thinking in English again and again until it became your new habit, your new instinct, and your new way of communicating. Most English learners believe that fluency comes from knowing thousands of words. They spend months memorizing long vocabulary lists, hoping that one day they will finally feel ready to speak. But that day rarely arrives because knowledge without use never becomes confidence. The truth is that everyday conversations do not require an endless vocabulary. They require the right vocabulary. Research on language learning consistently shows that a relatively small group of high-frequency words appears again and again in daily conversations. When you master these words and learn how to use them naturally, you begin to communicate far more effectively than someone who has memorized thousands of rare words but never speaks. That is why the idea of learning just 521 carefully selected words is so powerful. These are not random words collected from a dictionary. They are practical words that people use every single day in real life. They help you introduce yourself, ask questions, express opinions, describe feelings, solve problems, and build meaningful conversations. Imagine learning the word go. At first, it seems like a simple word. But then you discover that you can say, I go to work every day. Let's slowly go home, or go outside, go back, or go online, and go for it. One word suddenly becomes part of dozens of useful sentences. Take, get, come, look, think, know, and feel. Instead of treating every word as a separate lesson, you begin to see them as building blocks that create hundreds of different expressions. This is exactly how fluent speakers use language. They do not memorize thousands of complete sentences. They combine familiar words in different ways until speaking becomes natural. Now think about your own learning journey. How many words have you memorized only to forget them a few days later? How many difficult words have you learned that you have never used in a real conversation? That happens because the human brain remembers information that is connected with action. When you learn a word and immediately speak it, your brain creates a stronger memory. Every conversation strengthens that connection. Every sentence makes the word easier to remember. Instead of filling your notebook with vocabulary lists, fill your day with spoken sentences. Even if those sentences are simple, they are far more valuable than complicated words that remain trapped inside a notebook. Another important step is learning words in context instead of isolation. Do not learn the word be by itself. Say, I am happy today. Say, she looks happy. Say, happy to meet you. Say, that makes me happy. Your brain starts connecting meaning with real situations instead of translations. The same method works for every important word you learn. When vocabulary becomes part of your daily speech, it stops feeling like information and starts becoming a habit. Many learners become discouraged because they compare themselves with native speakers. They hear someone speaking with thousands of words and think they must learn everything before they can speak confidently. But every native speaker started with a very small vocabulary as a child. They did not wait until they knew every word before speaking. They communicated with the words they had, and their vocabulary expanded naturally over time. You can follow the same process. Speak with the words you know today, and tomorrow your vocabulary will become a little bigger. Growth happens through use, not through waiting. Consistency is another secret that changes everything. Imagine learning 5 useful words every day. That may not sound impressive, but after 1 month, you have learned around 150 practical words. After several months, you have built a vocabulary capable of handling countless daily conversations. More importantly, those words have become part of your active vocabulary because you have spoken them repeatedly. Active vocabulary is the vocabulary that comes to your mind instantly when you speak. Passive vocabulary is the vocabulary you recognize but cannot use quickly. Your goal is not simply to recognize words. Your goal is to own them. Create small speaking challenges every day. Look around your room and describe everything you see using the words you already know. Describe your morning routine while getting ready. Explain what you are cooking, what you are watching, or where you are going. Talk to yourself if no speaking partner is available. The purpose is not to impress anyone. The purpose is to train your brain to access familiar words without hesitation. The more often you use your vocabulary, the faster your brain retrieves it during real conversations. Do not be afraid of repeating the same words again and again. Repetition is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of learning. Professional musicians repeat the same notes thousands of times. Athletes repeat the same movements until they become automatic. Language works the same way. Every repeated sentence strengthens your confidence. Every repeated conversation reduces hesitation. Eventually, the words begin to appear naturally without conscious effort. Another powerful habit is listening to simple English every day. Listen to conversations that use the same high-frequency vocabulary you are learning. Pay attention to how speakers combine familiar words into natural expressions. Repeat their sentences aloud. Copy their pronunciation, rhythm, and pauses. This process helps your ears and your mouth work together. Instead of translating every sentence, you begin recognizing patterns automatically. The words become familiar friends instead of difficult strangers. Most importantly, stop believing that your success depends on learning more before speaking. Your success depends on speaking more with what you already know. Those 521 carefully chosen words are enough to begin thousands of conversations. Ask meaningful questions, express your thoughts, share your experiences, and connect with people from around the world. Every sentence you speak transforms simple vocabulary into real communication. Every conversation turns knowledge into confidence. Every day of consistent practice moves you one step closer to the fluent English speaker you have always wanted to become. Today, I want you to challenge a belief that has held millions of learners back for years. You do not need to memorize a dictionary. You do not need perfect grammar before opening your mouth. You simply need the courage to stop translating and start thinking in English. Because the moment you stop chasing perfection, you start chasing progress, and progress always wins. In this speech, we will discover how speaking English fluently with just 521 carefully chosen words is not a dream but a practical reality. You will learn why your brain works faster when you think directly in English, why confidence grows through speaking instead of studying, and how small daily actions can transform your communication forever.